This day in tech news with your host, Joshua Pack. Today, I just kind of have a bunch of different topics to talk about, one of which I kind of want to talk about is how Apple is conceding to let apps like Netflix, Spotify, and Kindle link to the web for sign up. So that means that Apple App Store is going to change the way that they handle, I guess, their payment processing. Because before, you could not link. You could not link to your web store for customers on an iOS app to go to your store to purchase like Netflix or whatever. Like you couldn't even mention it anywhere. Couldn't even mention it in your terms of services. You couldn't mention it that there's any type of way to pay for this app on the web. The only way was either you had to give Apple 30% of any revenue that comes through the app, or you had to just not say anything and just have customers assume that they have a web presence, allow them to have, to be able to make payments online. But Apple says that it will now let developers now this is the point that I want to make is that it's going to allow developers of reader apps only, so like Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Kindle, directly link their customers to their own sign-up website where they could potentially skirt Apple's in-app payment system and the 30% cut, which is great. I mean, that's good, but it's only for specific type of apps. So, which, I'm actually, if it's a game, I don't see a big problem with the 30% cut. I mean, it is kind of high. It really should be 15%. And thankfully, with currently, if you're making less than $1 million in revenue, it is only 15%. It handles most of the back end pieces of it. I mean, yeah, you can get Spotify. What is it called? That Stripe or PayPal, and it's like 3% of a fee, which is way less. I mean, it's 15% is 5 times more than what you really get. But you do get a bunch of SDKs. You get a bunch of stuff that helps with the developing and also the ease of use of adding payment processing into there. Granted, I still think you should be able to at least use your own payment processor if Apple still wants to have a cut, maybe have like a 5% cut, but use like a different payment processor such as Stripe. So that's or PayPal so that you get an extra 3% on that. So it's only 8%. That'd be even half of that. I feel like, yes, it's going to cut into Apple's revenue and Google's revenue. I mean, if Google's definitely going to probably be doing something like that. I mean, doing something like this as well. So it's definitely something that I think in the future is going to be good for all developers. What I think is great is that like currently on the iOS apps for like Netflix, when you open the app, it's pretty much useless if you don't have a sign in, because it just opens up the sign in page with no link out to their website at all. And it has like a little cheeky message that says you can't sign up for Netflix in the app. We know it's a hassle. So because of this, app developers have just had to be, if you're not famous like Netflix, if you're not famous like Shopify, or I should say famous, but more popular like those apps, no one's gonna know, oh hey, yeah, let me go to joshuapack.com to sign up for this service. Like no one's gonna really know that if they downloaded your app. It's really just an app that does nothing unless you first go to the website and sign up and then be able to log in. It's such a bad user experience, and you're gonna have people on the Apple side say, well, why don't they just pay the 30%? Why don't they just pay the 30%? Well, I don't think I don't think 30% is a fair cut. But I get it, right? I get it. This is Apple. This is Apple's store. Granted, before the Apple Store, it was it Cydia store or something like that, and that was a user store owned. Usually, if you rooted your Apple device, you could install Cydia. I think it was called a Cydia. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation of what the first Apple store was, but it wasn't like Apple was like, oh yeah, let me make my own store. It was like Apple saw, oh wow, this is actually a really good idea, and let's do this. At least that's how it seemed like to me, though, because Cydia came out way first, and then Apple's like, well, yeah, we're gonna make our own store, so you don't need to go to these other stores, all right? And we're gonna make it not available to other stores. I mean, of course, you could root your device, but then you lose warranty, you lose everything, which would be fine. I mean, I kind of understand, Apple wants to kind of keep their devices secure, and they have a long history of it not being very secure. I mean, really, any mobile device have issues with security, and that's just the nature of these devices because they're very popular. They're in everyone's hands, so hackers are going to want to do stuff like that. So I definitely understand. And opening it up to other stores is going to cause more issues for users. I mean, I really want it to open up to other stores, but hide it behind a bunch of red tape. Like have it say, hey, if you do this, it could harm your device. It could also, break your device. It could make your warranty invalid. It could, but yes, you can install another store. I mean, you have to make sure you trust that other store. That's kind of what Google does now with the Android. You can install other APKs. You can install other stores. There's the Amazon App Store. There is the Samsung App Store. There's even a bunch of other stores that I don't even know about on the Android system, which is great. There's even stores for iOS, but with those stores for iOS, it's a pain. Like it is a pain. You have to have a Mac, I believe, in order to install a lot of this stuff. You have to, of course, root your device. There is so much hard work to get another store, so there is no competition in the space right there. Whereas with Android, you can get other app stores on your device. There is at least some competition. There is the Samsung App Store. There is the Amazon App Store. There is the Google Play Store. Now, granted, I prefer the Google Play Store. It's a really nice store, so I really like it. But, for example, when Fortnite had its big thing, Epic wanted to push Fortnite for payments and did the whole suing thing, they went over to the Samsung App Store. Granted, they probably didn't get as many installs compared to the Google Play, and especially with the iOS devices, they had zero options. With iPhone, they had zero options for normal users who do not know how to root their device. Whereas with Android, as long as someone had a Samsung device, they most likely already had the Galaxy App Store, right? So they could install Fortnite if they wanted to. And that's what they did. They went over to Fortnite, which I think is, they're still suing Google because, I think Google and Apple are both monopolies in their own space. Like, yes, they are competitors, but there's a thing called a duopoly, right? Where it's like two monopolies, and they're able to pretty much control everything. And it really needs to stop. It just is harming the consumers. It's harming developers. It's really making it an unfair space to play in. And there are things like Google tried to buy out the Galaxy App Store to try to squash that competition. That's what duopolies do. They buy out other companies to squash competition. Look at Apple with the whole Dark Sky app, right? Apple, you look at Wikipedia. Okay, go to Wikipedia and look at how many companies Apple has bought and then squished. Just squished, because they either took them in or they pretty much just squished them completely or whatever, just to mainly for competition, because they're both monopolies. They have so much money, they can buy out competition, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And I don't know, I really don't want to live in a world where it's a duopoly like this, but that is where we're at right now. And let's talk about something else. Well, I mean, there's not very much time left to talk about anything else, but I want to talk about messengers, right? So we have, like, on the Apple ecosystem, iMessage. iMessage is only available in the Apple ecosystem. Granted, they've kind of let, with the browser, be able to send links to other users, either on computers or on their Android phones, to be able to FaceTime, and that's really nice. But not everyone in this world uses iMessage, right? We also have WhatsApp. We have Telegram. We have Signal. We have RCS. We have end-to-end encrypted RCS. We have different implementations of messaging services. And the fragmentation of messaging services is crazy. For my phone right now, I have, I think, like 7-8 apps for messaging. That is just crazy, when really we should all just have at least one underlying technology to where we can then communicate with everyone. I mean, I don't know if you're maybe you're not old enough, but back in the day there was this app called Pigeon that would have all the, like, AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, MSN Messenger, all the all the messengers, ICQ, all the messengers into one app so that you could communicate to everyone. Like, I feel like we need that. We need that again, because this is just getting out of hand. Anyway, I want to talk more about that, but not in this podcast. I'm kind of trying to write everything out. So maybe I can get that done, and then maybe that should be the next podcast. We'll see. Well, anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you liked it. Also, what is your thoughts on the whole 30% pay with the Apple store? Like, do you think, and Google store, do you think 30% is fair? Do you think that's a fair cut for developers to have to pay? Whereas, Apple can and Google can just come out with their own app and they don't have to pay that. Granted, it is their infrastructure, right? It's their infrastructure. But shouldn't we allow other stores? Shouldn't we allow side loading? Just let me know. Let me know in the comments below what you think. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great day, and of course, have a good one. Thanks. Bye.